My friend, let me ask you a question that's going to make you uncomfortable. Why do some people work their entire lives, do everything right, save every penny, and still end up in the same financial place where they started? Meanwhile, others seem to multiply money without breaking a sweat. The answer isn't luck, it isn't IQ, and it definitely isn't fairness. Life isn't fair, and if you lost the birth lottery, if you didn't inherit wealth or connections, you're going to need to play the game differently. Here's the truth nobody likes to admit. The system was designed to reward those who own assets, not those who just work for a salary. You can be the most dedicated employee in the world, get all the raises, all the promotions, and still be stuck in this race where you run, and never get anywhere. That's the rat race, and the only way out is to change the rules of the game. It's about stopping trading time for money and starting to make money work for you. I know what you're thinking. Investing seems complicated, it seems like something for rich people, for those who already have a lot saved up. But that's exactly where the trap lies. Rich people already know this, that's why they get richer. They understand that every dollar invested today can become $2, $3, $5 tomorrow. And while you keep waiting to have more money to start, time passes, inflation eats away at your purchasing power, and you continue in the same cycle of earning and spending. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to escape this trap. I'm not going to promise you magic formulas or miraculous shortcuts. I'm going to give you a real, tested plan that works even when you're starting from zero. I'm going to explain why your money is losing value right now while it sits in your account. I'm going to show you how the stock market really works, without all that complicated jargon that only serves to confuse you and push you away. And most importantly, I'm going to give you practical steps, the kind you can start applying today, to finally put your money to work in your favor. Because here's the truth, my friend. You can accept that life isn't fair and use that as an excuse to do nothing, or you can accept that life isn't fair and decide you're going to fight twice as hard to change your reality. The difference between those who keep complaining and those who actually change their lives is in the action, and the action starts now. There's a truth that few people stop to notice, but it changes everything when you finally understand it. The money sitting in your account isn't as safe as you think. In fact, it's losing value every single day without making noise, without you noticing. Inflation acts like a thief working in the shadows, taking away the purchasing power of your hard work without you realizing it. Those $1,000 you saved with so much effort will buy less and less as time goes by, and if you do nothing, you'll wake up one day realizing you worked twice as hard to get half the result. Most people grow up hearing they need to work hard, economize, and save money. This advice isn't wrong, but it's incomplete. Saving money without investing is like filling a leaky bucket. You manage to collect something, but you keep losing it along the way. Meanwhile, those who understand the game are making money work for them, multiplying wealth while they sleep. The difference between those who build wealth and those who stay stuck in the same place isn't just how much they earn, but what they do with what they earn. Think about that neighbor who bought a house 20 years ago. Today, that property is probably worth more than double what he paid for it. Or that person who started investing in stocks of solid companies and saw their wealth grow between 8 to 10% a year. Meanwhile, salaries have barely kept up with inflation, and those who depended only on work kept running behind, always one step behind. The modern economy rewards those who own assets, those who have pieces of companies, real estate, investments that appreciate over time. Have you ever stopped to think about why it seems you're always in the same place financially? You earn, pay the bills, have little left over, save a bit, and the next month it all starts again. This cycle is exhausting and frustrating because you're playing a game where the rules favor those who have assets, not those who just trade time for money. Investing breaks this cycle, puts you on the other side of the table, where money finally starts working in your favor instead of you working only for money. Many people get paralyzed thinking that investing is for the rich, for those who already have a lot saved up. But the truth is exactly the opposite. Those who most need to invest are those who weren't born with wealth, who need to build from zero. Rich people already understand this, that's why they keep getting richer. They know that every dollar invested today can turn into $2, $3, $5 in the future. Starting small isn't a problem, the problem is not starting at all. The big difference between those who escape the rat race and those who stay trapped in it is understanding that wealth isn't built only with salary. You can work 40 years of your life, get promoted, get raises, and still end up depending on every penny you receive. Or you can start today, even with little, to build a solid foundation of investments that will grow, multiply, and eventually give you freedom. The choice seems obvious when you put it that way, but it requires a mindset shift that few are willing to make. When you buy a stock, you're not just moving money from one place to another. You're literally becoming an owner of a piece of a company, however small that piece may be. If you buy a Netflix share, you now own a fraction of that giant company. It's like you're telling the world that you believe in that business, that you trust it will continue growing and generating value. And when the company grows, the value of your stake grows with it. That's how the game works. The stock market is basically a big shopping mall where people buy and sell pieces of thousands of different companies. Prices go up and down all the time, based on what people think those companies are worth at that moment. You make money in two main ways. The first is when you buy a stock for $100 and it goes up to $150, then you sell it and pocket the difference. The second is through dividends, which is when the company decides to share part of the profits with those who invested in it, like a thank you for believing in us. Now, you might be thinking about investing in specific companies like Netflix or Apple. And yes, you can do that, but it's risky. Even the biggest companies in the world can lose value or go out of fashion overnight. Remember when everyone had a BlackBerry? If you had bought a BlackBerry share for $144 in 2008, today it would be worth only $4.50. Back then, everyone thought BlackBerry was going to dominate the world, that BBM was the future of communication. A few years later, everyone abandoned BlackBerry for the iPhone and WhatsApp. Even if you spend your nights reading financial reports and analyzing balance sheets, it's extremely difficult to predict which companies will thrive in the long run. There are many variables, competition is fierce, and the market changes too fast. That's why the most successful investors don't try to guess the winners. They simply buy all the big companies at once through index funds. An index fund is like a giant basket with hundreds or thousands of stocks inside it. Instead of betting all your chips on one company, you spread the risk among several. The S&P 500, for example, includes the 500 largest companies in the United States, including Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, Tesla, and hundreds of others. If you had invested $100 in the S&P 500 at the beginning of 1996 and reinvested the dividends, today you would have about $1,764. That's a return of approximately 10% per year, or 7.5% considering inflation. The beauty of diversification is that you don't need to guess which company will boom. If some fall, others rise, and you benefit from the general upward trend of the market. Over time, you end up owning hundreds of businesses in dozens of different sectors: technology, energy, health, finance. Maybe you look at the S&P 500 and think about investing only in the best ones, like the Magnificent Seven that have dominated the market in recent years. It makes sense, after all. Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, Meta, Tesla, and Nvidia had the biggest gains, so why not focus only on them? The problem with this strategy is that today's biggest companies may not be tomorrow's biggest. If you look at the S&P 500 between 1980 and 2020, you'll notice that the dominant companies changed completely. Back then, the market was led by completely different names like General Electric, Walmart, and ExxonMobil. This shows how risky it is to depend on a small group of companies, even if they seem unbeatable now. There's absolutely no guarantee that today's winners will still be on top 10 years from now. If you go back even further in time, in the 60s and 70s, companies like American Express, McDonald's, Kodak, and Coca-Cola were the big names. Investors were certain these companies would keep growing forever. But then came the bubble of the mid-70s, and many of these stocks plummeted. Kodak, which everyone thought was indestructible, fell more than 90%. It was a cold shower for those who put everything in one basket, and a valuable lesson about the importance of not betting on few horses. Another important point is that the American economy has its own uncertainties right now. It also makes sense to invest in companies from other parts of the world, to diversify geographically. Nobody knows which country or which company will lead the next decade, so having a bit of everything reduces risk. It's like building a team with players in various positions. If one fails, the others compensate. This diversification mindset is what separates those who build solid wealth from those who bet everything and can lose everything. Now that you know what to invest in, let's get to what really matters: how to actually start. The first step is to choose an investment platform, which is nothing more than the website or app where you'll buy and manage your investments. The key here is to ensure the platform is regulated, reliable, and has low fees. It may seem like a detail, but over time, a small difference in fees can eat up a huge part of your returns. Before signing up, take a look at the types of accounts available on the platform. Some offer general accounts where you may have to pay taxes on profits. Others offer accounts with tax benefits like the ISA in the United Kingdom, the TFSA in Australia and Canada, or the NISA in Japan. If you have access to a retirement plan from the company where you work, this can be even better, because in many places the employer matches your contribution. Like, you put in $100, the company puts in another 100, your portfolio grows at double the speed. After your account is open, the second step is to add money, usually by bank transfer or debit card. The third step is to choose your investments, and this is where many people stumble. Remember what we talked about regarding index funds being less risky than individual stocks. It can be tempting to build a portfolio with only your favorite companies, but most of the time you'll make less money that way than with diversified funds. Start with well-diversified global funds, and as you learn more, you can refine your strategy and add more structure to your portfolio. The fourth step is what most people ignore, and it's probably the most important of all. Automation. Instead of trying to choose the perfect moment to invest, you set up a monthly automatic debit. Like $100 every month, $200 every month, whatever amount fits your budget. By investing small amounts regularly, you smooth out the market's highs and lows. Some months you buy when prices are high, other months when they're low, but over time everything balances out. This strategy even has a name, it's called dollar cost averaging. The real benefit isn't just mathematical, it's psychological. You remove the temptation to keep tinkering with things, to try to predict the market, to wait for the right moment that never comes. Automation takes you out of the equation, and that's good, because as we'll see in a moment, the investor's biggest enemy is usually himself. Set it and forget it may seem boring, but it's the most effective way to build wealth in the long run. Now let's talk about the question every beginner asks. What if everything goes wrong? What if the market crashes because it's at an all-time high? What if the companies you invested in stop growing? These concerns are valid, but the first thing you need to keep in mind is that if you invested in funds instead of individual stocks, you're already well protected. Diversification acts as a shield. You won't lose everything because you have pieces of hundreds of different companies. Even if some companies fail or the market goes through turbulence, your diversified portfolio can absorb the shock. That's why diversifying not only among funds, but also among types of assets, is so important. Stocks, bonds, real estate, each category reacts differently to market conditions. When one falls, another may be rising. That's the magic of not putting all your eggs in one basket. You build resilience in your wealth. But here's the truth few people talk about. The biggest risk for most investors isn't the market itself. It's themselves. Let me give you an example. You see an expert on television saying a crisis is coming. You panic and sell everything, only to discover later that the expert was completely wrong. Best case scenario, you sold at a profit and can buy back in. Worst case scenario, you sold at a loss, realized the loss, and now it'll cost you more to buy the same investments back. These emotional decisions destroy more wealth than any market crisis. People sell when they should hold, buy when they should wait, get paralyzed when they should act. The automation we mentioned before solves this. It prevents you from panic selling when things drop or from waiting for the perfect timing that never appears. If you've made it this far thinking about investing but not knowing where to start, I hope you now have the confidence to take that first step, because that first step is what separates those who only think about changing their lives from those who actually change them. So, my friend, we've reached the end of this video, but I hope it's just the beginning of your journey. You just learned what takes many people years to discover, and some never discover. The question now is simple. What are you going to do with this knowledge? Will you leave it stored in the drawer of good intentions, or will you actually act? Think with me. 5 years from now, do you want to look back and see that you're still in the same place? Or do you want to see real progress? Do you want to continue in this exhausting race where you work, and never get anywhere? Or do you want to finally start building something solid, wealth that grows while you sleep, that gives you options, that gives you freedom? The choice is yours, it always has been. But let me tell you something. It doesn't matter how much you earn now. It doesn't matter if you're starting with $10 or $1,000. What matters is starting. What matters is taking that first step that separates those who dream from those who achieve. Every month you delay is one less month of compound growth. It's money that could be working for you but is sitting still, losing value. If this video made sense to you, if you really want to keep learning about wealth building, about how to escape this financial trap that holds so many people, I need you to do two things. First, subscribe to this channel and turn on notification bell. Second, look for other videos here on the channel. There's much more content about investments, about financial mindset, about how to increase your capacity for reflection and make better decisions with your money. Because at the end of the day, my friend, this isn't just about money. It's about freedom. It's about having choices. It's about not spending the rest of your life at the mercy of next month's salary. And you deserve that. You deserve to have options, deserve to build something that lasts, that grows, that gives you dignity and peace of mind. Before you go, I want to tell you something from the heart. I believe in you. I truly believe. I know that each of us carries our own battles, our own challenges that nobody sees. Maybe you're struggling to pay the bills. Maybe you're tired of feeling like you work too much for too little result. Maybe you're just looking for something better for the future. Whatever your situation is, I want you to know one thing. You have more potential than you imagine. We all have skills, talents, capabilities that we haven't fully explored yet. And when you decide to invest in yourself, to study, to learn, to apply this knowledge, you're not just improving your life. You're creating a ripple effect that can touch other people's lives too. Your family, your friends, even people you don't even know yet can benefit from your growth journey. The world needs more people who decide to take control of their own lives, who stop waiting for external salvation and start building their own reality. And this begins with education, with constant learning, with the humility to admit there's always more to discover. There's always room to improve. That's why I invite you, with an open heart, to continue this journey with me. Subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, watch other videos. Reflect on what you learned here today. Think about whether it makes sense for you, whether it's time to take this step. And remember, my friend, life may not be fair, but it responds to action. And you're capable of much more than you imagine.